Hey guys, quick heads up. Before we dive in, just remember everything you're about to hear is purely subjective. That means it's based on personal opinions, wild experiences, and a few unfiltered thoughts. So, if you're looking for hard facts or official advice, well, you might want to look somewhere else. We're here for real talk, not right answers. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and feel free to agree, disagree, or just laugh at the chaos. All right, let's get into the episode. Hey guys, welcome back to the Subjective Podcast. I'm your host, Danielle, and today, you know what I'm going to say. We have a very special episode, and again, it's just me yapping by myself today. It is Sunday. It's actually Easter, and it's around 1 o'clock, so we're back to my living room and using some natural sunlight. So let's just hope, one, that the lighting stays consistent, and two, that you cannot hear any of the airplanes outside. But if you do, it's fine. It's real life. So before we get started, I have a few things I need to say. First and foremost, if you are watching on YouTube, please make sure that you subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, share it with a friend. And if you are listening on any podcast platform, please be sure to leave a rating or a review on Spotify, Apple, iHeartMusic, whatever. I actually think you can only use reviews on Apple Podcasts, so whatever the case is, leave a review, share it with a friend, all of the things. And if you are listening on audio and you want to see my face, come on over to YouTube. Now, other than that, I just wanted to remind you guys to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at The Subjective Pod, and also follow my Substack, subscribe so that when I post on there, you will get notifications. And if you need some advice, if you want to talk some shit, if you want to hear what I have to say, please submit your dilemmas, your life issues, whatever it is that's going on, to What Would Danielle Do? I'm going to leave the link in the show notes and in, where else am I going to leave it? I don't know, but it's in all of the bios on my socials. So I think that covers everything. Now, let's get into today's episode. So I am boycotting something, and I'm sure that if you listen to me or follow me, you probably know that that's nothing new. However, I can't remember what exactly or why, but just know that whatever it is, they did something foul, something crazy, and I am personally refusing to support. And honestly, I feel like that should just be enough for you to do the same thing. Now, I'm sorry, I just cracked myself up. There is nothing more frustrating than knowing something's wrong in your soul, in your spirit, but forgetting like the source, the tweet, the TikTok, the headline, or whatever it is, the article, the Instagram post that you saw that sparked you to feel that way. Like, I promise you, I'm right. I promise I'm going to be on the right side of history. I just cannot tell you why right now in this moment, or maybe ever, I don't know. So, do you guys ever feel like you know something is wrong? Like your whole body is telling you that something that you've seen on the news is wrong. There's some injustice that's happening, and you know it's fucked up, but you can't explain it in a way that makes sense to anyone else, or to like try to convince them that they should also stand for this thing, whatever it is. Like, you know, you're on the right side of history, and then someone asks, oh, why that, why this, why can't we do this, why shouldn't we be doing this, why are we supporting that? And then your brain just kind of freezes, and you're like, oh fuck, I forgot why, but I just know. So I recently came across this TikTok, and it made me laugh out loud because I have never felt something so deep in my soul. And so the TikToker said, essentially, which by the way, I'll link the exact TikTok in the show notes, but she was saying that she was basically like, what I struggle with and that I don't hear anyone talking about is having like a sense of justice, but a shitty fucking memory. Because she was like, I be trying to stand up for what's right, and all I know is like you need to stay away from whatever it is, but I can't tell you why. And I literally felt that in my soul. I mean, how many times, and maybe it's just me and maybe it's just her, but have you guys ever felt like really passionate about an issue? You're ready to stand on business, only to realize that you can't recall all of the specific details. It's like, I know this is wrong, but I genuinely do not have the footnotes to tell you why, but just listen to me. So, this got me thinking about some of the challenges of being a justice minded person in an age of information overload that we live in, especially in the year 2025. Like, if you think about it, we consume so much content, articles, videos, tweets, TikToks, and honestly, it's literally impossible to retain every single detail. Yet you get yourself in situations where you're expected to be ready with facts and figures at a moment's notice anytime someone decides they want to argue about what's right. And so today in this episode, I really just wanted to explore how we can upload our convictions even when our memory is not quite cooperating with us, and how we can stand firm in our beliefs and effectively communicate them despite the occasional mental blank. And first, I just want to start by acknowledging that it's literally okay to not remember every detail. Our brains are not designed to store endless streams of information without some type of system in place. And anyone that knows me knows that I have very strong morals, and I am very vocal and loud about sticking up for things that I think are right. And I think one of the frustrating parts about that is when you see people who maybe stand on the other side of it, or they have a completely different opinion, and it's genuinely hard to convince someone that you should just fucking care about other people. Like, that is something that you cannot teach someone. You can't convince them. You can't tell or get people to understand that everything isn't about them. And just because something doesn't directly affect you doesn't mean that you should not give a fuck about it. And I think that is so frustrating. Like, honestly, at this point in my life, I genuinely don't argue a lot with people who have such flawed ways of thinking, selfish ways of thinking, and that is to protect my own peace. I used to be the type of person, every post that I seen on social media, I will be in your comments arguing with you. And it's so infuriating and honestly so pointless to try to argue with people like that. So I just want to make sure that part's very clear. And so let me just start by saying, I feel like I'm personally a walking contradiction. Like, I care so much about the world. I care about other people. I care about justice. I care about what's right and wrong. But if you ask me to explain why something's wrong, I will literally blank. I didn't just spend like 3 hours crying over a documentary and then forget the name. Like, that's literally what will happen to me. And I've always had a very, very strong moral compass. Like, I wouldn't say since I was a kid, but I would definitely say since like going to college and learning new things, being around so many different people. Like, I didn't always know what the rules were, but I knew when something felt off, and I could sense when something was unfair. And I have been in situations where I felt like things were unfair towards me. And that part of me has not changed. But as I get older, you guys know I always say I have ADHD, and personally, I can find so many things in my life to blame that on. And this is probably a new one to add to the list, but I also have a full-time job. I have this podcast. I have a dog. I have a home. I have a boyfriend. I have family. I have friends. Like, all of these different things are going on, but also the world around me does not stop. And so my brain is often overloaded with just about everything. And trying to remember why I know what I know is a full time job by itself. And the internet doesn't help. Like, social media is a constant fire hose of information. It's breaking news, think pieces, infographics, protests, calls to action, updates, nuances, noise, just so much. And on top of that, I listen to the news every day. I read the news every day. It's literally like trying to drink the ocean and remember what every fucking drop of the water tastes like. Like, that was so stupid, but you guys get what I'm trying to say. So I say all that to say that the pressure of always having to like prove your point or provide receipts, even when your instincts are telling you like, bitch, this is just correct. Like, I don't know what else to tell you except this is the right thing. I just am kind of over it. It's so exhausting. Or when a person thinks like you're the spokesperson or the professor that's required to teach them everything, they don't want to do their own research. I just feel a type of way about it. Like, I'm literally fighting for the people, but I also forget the name of the battle most of the time. But I don't expect everyone to feel the same way about this as I do. But if you do, I feel like I've come to the realization, like, you don't owe people a TED Talk every time you stand for something. Like, morals, values, having that alignment, it doesn't always come with a bibliography. Like, most of the time when you have morals, it's because you're just a good person and you know it in your soul that what you believe or think is right is most likely right. You can literally be on the right side of something and not remember the exact headline that got you to that situation. And to be clear, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do your research and that you shouldn't know and have an understanding of what it is that you're standing for, especially if you're advocating for it and talking about it. Like, that is extremely important. And it's also okay to not remember exactly where you got the information, but the world really doesn't always give you a lot of grace for that, especially, if you're a Black person or you're a part of any marginalized group. That's usually the people who are standing up for things that are wrong. You are expected to show up with your stats and your receipts and have a calm explanation and a smile on your face, even if you are barely holding it together. You're not allowed to just feel something, and you're then expected to teach others. Like, I remember during 2020, after the murder of George Floyd, and all of these people, I think it was especially white people, were saying that they were ready to listen and learn. I remember that was such a big thing. And I felt so irritated by that because I was like, listen and learn from who? Like, every time when someone gets caught with their racist tweets, that's what they say. And it's like they put this expectation on the people who they have hurt or done something to then teach and explain to them why they shouldn't do it and what they should do instead of taking that responsibility on themselves to do their own research, read their own books, listen to their own podcasts. They expect other people to literally spoon feed them the information. And to me, that means you don't really want to learn, because anytime I wanted to learn something, I went out on my own and I found the information and I tried to teach myself and I found resources and I did all of that work myself. I didn't go to one person and say, hey, you're the expert on this, or you're the person who's been in this situation. Teach me everything you know. No, that wouldn't make sense. And so I say all that to say, let's normalize saying, I can't explain it fully, but no, I'm on the right side of history, bitch, and you should be too. There's that. Now, I do want to get into like how you can really choose your battles and protect your peace in a world where there's so much going on and you're probably always going to be in a situation where you have to argue your point. First of all, staying aligned with your values is a lot of work. And so I think it's always important to know what your values are, know what your morals are from the beginning. And when I say that, staying aligned with your values is a lot of work, I don't just mean it's a lot of internal work. I mean, there's a lot of energy that it takes to keep up, to remember what's happening, to essentially stay on brand of your beliefs, and to also react fast enough, to speak eloquently enough, and to keep your opinions organized. That is a lot of work, and the fatigue can set in very, very quick. And there can be a little bit of guilt when you forget, or guilt when you're silent, or guilt when you log off of social media. And you can sometimes feel like you're letting yourself down or letting other people down, especially when you are someone who is known to speak up on things. Sometimes you'll see this with like celebrities or influencers where there will be any type of social issue and like people are upset that certain people aren't speaking out. And that is frustrating. And I obviously am not a celebrity, but I think I am definitely the person that people expect to always have something to say. And sometimes I don't want to, or sometimes I don't have anything to say. And so one of the things that I've learned is like you can hold the line without having to show outwardly that you support something. You can say you don't remember. You can say, oh, I remember that this made me feel this way and I remember that I care. But you can also never fold. And I think that's important. Like, I think it's important to remember, especially if you're like the outspoken person, that you don't have to speak out publicly about every issue. You don't have to tell your opinions on every issue. At the end of the day, as for me, I know my morals, I know my values, and if people know me, they know my morals and they know my values, and they know that I'm very loud. And honestly, you could probably put two and two together to know how I feel about different situations that are coming up. And so with that being said, I didn't want to just yap, but I wanted to talk about like some of the like practical tips and ideas that I have of like how to stand up for what you believe in, how to argue when you forget the source, and how to respectfully check people or disrespectfully, depending on the vibes. So, first and foremost, I always believe on standing on business. And I always, 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 always cannot stress this enough how important it is to do your own research and to do it without getting overwhelmed. If you are anyone who spends time on the internet, half the internet is just people repeating shit that they've heard from someone else. And while having a community memory matters, you should still know how to dig for the truth yourself. Because one, again, I keep speaking about values, but your values deserve clarity, and your stance and how you feel about something deserves more than a recycled Instagram infographic. And as an example, whenever Hamas attacked Israel, and then Israel then retaliated by attacking all of Palestine, when I first heard about that, I knew nothing about like the previous conflict between Palestine and Israel. I didn't know why Hamas would want to attack Israel. Like, I knew nothing. And originally, when I first heard that, I was like, what the fuck? Why would Hamas do that to Israel? And I was confused, very much confused. And so I started to, one, I obviously knew about it from seeing like posts on social media, the news, all of the things. And depending on the source that it comes from, it could come from a different angle. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to share anything on my social media or any of that until I know what the fuck's going on and what is happening and I understand both sides. And so I did an extensive research on the whole entire history of Palestine and Israel, how we got here. I did all of my research on Gaza, all of the things. And honestly, back to memory, I don't even remember all of the things that I researched and how I went down this rabbit hole. But I did that and I made sure that I understood. And then I took that information that I've learned and I formed my own opinion on it. I didn't let other people or other people's thoughts influence how I felt about this conflict or what side of it that I was going to stand on. And I also formed the opinion that two things could be true at once. Yeah, it's unfortunate that Hamas, which is considered a terrorist group, attacked Israel and so many people died, lost their lives, or got into situations that they didn't want to be in. And that sucks. However, when I looked back on the history and the context and all of the things that Israel has done to Palestine, I was like, okay, well, why the fuck would they not retaliate? Like, you can't just be mean and nasty and disgusting and bully and steal and take things from people and expect for them to never stand up for themselves. And so I wanted to talk a little bit more about how I do my own research. One of my friends had asked me about that, and I was like talking them through it because at the time it really was like a lot. Like, how the fuck do you know all of this? How did you get this information? How did you form your opinion on this? And I am going to share how I feel from the perspective of like, how do you do your own research and not get overwhelmed, which is really difficult to do, by the way. So I can't even promise that if you do this that you won't be overwhelmed. But I think the first thing is to always start with like curiosity and not pressure. Like, don't just do research because everyone else is talking about it and you feel like you have to have an opinion. No. Do your research because you're genuinely curious about what's going on and you want to know more information. Even if you only just want to know the information so that you can be in the know like everyone else. And then from there, I would say, with that, don't force yourself to read 20 pages of a policy and to read every single news article. Just ask yourself what actually happened. Is this source reliable and who benefits from this narrative? Start there and then use Google. It's very simple. Use Google. ChatGPT actually is a really good place to start. And then when you're asking ChatGPT questions, you can literally have a conversation with them, but always ask them to cite their sources. Like, don't just take what ChatGPT says. Ask them to cite their sources and they'll send you the links, and then go to the links and see how they got to that information. Like, sometimes there's a lot of steps involved in it, depending on how deep and how much you want to know. If there is a story that is circulating, go and read that story across different platforms, different news sources. Don't just use, Twitter or TikTok. Search it on different news platforms. Search it on CNN. Search it on even Fox just to see what crazy shit they're saying that is the complete opposite. Search on ABC News. Search on the New York Times, whatever it is. Search it on different news platforms. And there's a ton of apps that have aggregated news where you can kind of just see all of the same story from different news sites. And there's even an app that I use that shows me like if this news article is more leaning on the left, the right, or maybe in the middle from a political standpoint. And that's always super helpful for me as well, just to have that different visibility from different angles, because I'm sure that a lot of people probably think like, oh, I just read news from one source. And it's like, no, actually I don't. I read it from a ton of different sources and a ton of different angles. And when you do that, you'll start to notice who's telling the full story, and you'll start to notice who's skipping context. You'll start to notice who's coming from where on different sides of the political spectrum. And then you'll honestly know, like, I could tell you what news sources lean to what side just by the way they write their headlines. And that is a combination of one, all the research I've done, but also I have a degree in journalism. I also worked in news. So that's where my expertise comes from. And then on top of that, when you are looking at news articles and posts and all of those things, check the fucking dates. You guys would be so surprised how many times a viral post is based on old ass information that's just being recycled. Like, it literally just happened today. So always check the dates, especially when your grandma is reposting shit on Facebook. Like, check the dates. And also, another thing, if you're ever unsure of who or what to believe, ask yourself, like, who is profiting from this narrative? Like, who's benefiting? And that question alone will tell you everything in most cases. And then as you have started doing research and you're kind of figuring out your way and understanding, how different sources get their information, write their stories, all of the things, save the sources that earn your trust and build a list of newsletters, writers, organizations, media outlets that help you stay grounded, ones that become almost like your personal research assistant, the ones that that you can trust because time and time again, they've given you good, accurate information. And doing your own research doesn't mean that you have to disappear into a conspiracy rabbit hole. It really just means like you're staying rooted in the truth and not the trends. And I cannot stress it enough. Like, I see this happen all the time of people just like sharing posts that they've seen on Instagram. You don't have to share a post if you don't know what's going on, if you haven't done your own research. And I honestly encourage you to do that first before you start sharing posts and acting like you know what you're talking about. And it's also okay to not know what you're talking about. Like, I feel like people underestimate the power of saying, I don't know enough information about this topic to have an opinion or a stance. It's very simple. Honestly, I would even respect it if you said, I don't care to know much about this to even provide a stance. I would respect that more than someone who is just pretending like they know and then giving out false information. Now, because I started this video talking about just standing on the right side of history, but also sometimes forgetting where you got your information or not remembering all of the exact details of how we got here, not remembering exactly why people are boycotting Target. Like, that is where we started. So I wanted to just talk about a few things that have helped me. And one of them is creating like a justice journal or a receipts folder. It's just something in your notes app. Keep a running note or create a folder in your notes and just log different things, headlines, TikToks, screenshots, arguments, whatever, and then organize it by different topics that you care about. Fast fashion, Palestine, racist brands, LGBTQ plus rights. Like, organize it by topic. So create a note that says politics and I don't fucking know, politics. And then in that note, as you find stuff, as you see stuff, just link it into your notes, screenshot stuff, add it there. If you have a note that's about LGBTQ plus rights, as you see stuff, as you find new links or you see a TikTok, like, you don't even have to engage with that content at the time. Just link it. And then when you're in the mood or you feel like it, go back to those links, do your own research. As you learn new information, like, put it into your receipts folder. That's one of the things that I do. I'm always saving stuff. Even on Instagram, you can like create folders on there. And as you see new posts, like during, again, like during 2020, during the murder of George Floyd, I ended up creating like a folder on Instagram of posts that I seen, especially when it came to like resources, when there were posts about, knowing your rights when it comes to police officers, all of these things, I would save it all to this one folder. And even to this day, it's still there. I still add to it and I can always refer back to it. So that's one of my biggest recommendations. And if you are talking to someone who's being a dick and wants you to give them a MLA format cited source of everything that you know and why, you can literally just say, I saw this and I know I feel this way. Bitch, let me get back to you. You don't have to argue in the moment. Just say, I can't explain it well right now, but I've saved something and I'll send you the information that I have. Do with that what you want. You can give yourself time to respond from a place of clarity and not from pressure, or you can just not respond at all, which is the hardest thing to do. I know, speaking from experience. And then another tip I have is to turn your feelings almost into like a morals and values framework. So even if you forget what you read, you want to always try to hold on to why it resonated with you. Was it about harm to a specific group? Was it about disrespect? Was it about injustice? Was it about profit over people? Was it about exploiting specific communities? And create almost like a belief bucket that helps you frame your stances when maybe the details are a little bit fuzzy. And again, this is just something that you don't have to remember in your head. You don't have to remember your belief buckets. Put it in your notes app. I put everything in my notes app. And so that way, when you see something or you come across something and, things you're just not sure, your belief buckets almost becomes like your lens. So you might forget the post that got you there, but your values always stay intact. And you'll always remember that, oh, this didn't align with this specific value that I have. And so you might say something like, oh, I don't remember the article, but I know that I always draw the line at injustice. I always draw the line at racism. And then therefore, if there is a topic about racism, there's not too much thinking that you have to do because you already know that you draw the line at racism. That has been really, really super helpful for me. And in addition to that, I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but relying on like a community or group memory. So you don't have to remember everything alone. Like you can lean on and follow trusted creators, trusted newsletters, trusted podcasts, like all of these things. And again, I will share some of my favorites, but you can do that. You can lean on your friends, family, people who remember things that maybe you forgot, or even have resources that help you remember things that you forgot. And I think the main thing is it's not always about being informed. It's about also being connected. And so build a circle of reliable sources and cite them when you forget. And then I also would say be honest all the time, but also be fucking unshakable. There is not a person, place, thing, or an animal on this earth that could convince me the opposite of my beliefs. No one could convince me that I shouldn't care about other people. No one should convince me that it's always someone's fault if they're poor. No one could convince me that white privilege doesn't exist. There's nothing anyone could say that would convince me that I should not like someone just because of their sexual orientation. No one. There's nothing that they could say. I don't give a fuck what the argument is. My values, the things that I believe are so solid that there's nothing anyone could say that could change my memory or change my mind about that ever. And that is something I'm willing to die on that hill. Like if anyone ever seen that happening, I would expect them to call me out because I can promise you it will never happen. And so I say all that to say that if you do get caught off guard, again, say, bitch, I don't have all the facts in front of me, but I do know like that I have integrity and my stances are always rooted and built on that. So either take it or leave it. Most people aren't really won over by a PDF, but they are won over by your conviction and about how confidently you say something and believe in something. If people see that you fold under pressure or you change your mind when someone gets a little bit feisty with you, you're not credible. Why would they believe you? Why would they care about what you have to say? Something to think about. Now, with that being said, I truly believe that being on the right side of history, it doesn't mean that you have to memorize every tweet, every article, every source. It doesn't mean that you have to be able to be a scholar on every single topic. It means that you care about stuff. It means that you care about something other than yourself, something bigger than yourself, that you care about things that maybe don't affect you, but they affect other people, and that you truly care about everyone being able to live a good life that they deserve. And it also means that you're trying. And if you're anything like me, it means that your notes app does a lot of the heavy lifting for you, and that's okay. So I think everyone should just give themselves grace. Other people should stop being dicks. You're allowed to forget and still be aligned. And if you're one of the dicks, you probably don't know anything anyway. And so you should give people grace. And if there is something that you are interested in learning, you should take the initiative to do your own research and learn yourself. And you're also allowed to not have quotes and stats available and still know the truth and still stand on the right side of history, because ultimately the truth lives within you. It lives within your morals. It lives within your values, not just in your notes app or your bookmark folder. And if you take anything from this episode, it is literally to understand what your values, your morals, and your beliefs are. Create your belief buckets and stand on fucking business. Don't fold. Ever. No matter the situation, stand on what you believe in. That's it. So, if you're still listening, I want to know, what's something that you stand so strongly against that you would literally die for? But also maybe sometimes you forget the details. But even if you don't forget the details, still tell me something that no one could ever change your mind about, a belief that you have. Send me some of your ideas or the ways that you guys remember or keep track of the things that you believe in and the sources that back that up. Leave it in the comments, DM me. If you have any dilemmas or scenarios that have to do with standing up for what you believe in, justice, whatever, submit to What Would Danielle Do, which is going to be linked. And also I was thinking, if anyone's interested, also let me know. Do you guys want a community receipts folder? Because I will definitely build one if you guys want that. Just one place. I don't know where I would do it. Maybe on Google Drives or Pinterest. I don't know, somewhere where other people can access it. And if you have something, or if there's a topic like racism or whatever, I would link everything and maybe open it up so other people could too. I haven't thought that through, but I feel like that would be cool and a good idea, where you just have one place where we could have the community memory, if you will. So that was all I have for today. That was a pretty quick and simple episode. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, please like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, leave a rating on Apple Podcasts. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow at The Subjective Pod on Instagram and TikTok, as well as on Substack. And I think that's going to be it. So I will talk to you guys in the next episode. Okay, bye. Hey guys, quick heads up. Before we dive in, just remember, everything you're about to hear is purely subjective. That means it's based on personal opinions, wild experiences, and a few unfiltered thoughts. So, if you're looking for hard facts or official advice, well, you might want to look somewhere else. We're here for real talk, not right answers. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and feel free to agree, disagree, or just laugh at the chaos. All right, let's get into the episode.